I like to look at like the fundamentals instead of looking at what everyone's talking about on something like LinkedIn, which is mainly tooling and what intent signals I can find. Instead, we'd like to look at it from a more foundational perspective, which is the combination of deliverability, your offering, which kind of ties into the copywriting, but it's what you're saying you can do, and the targeting that you use, and then where you source the data. So what I have here is just some notes on those fundamentals, and then what we're going to do is we're going to build a live campaign for Instant Docs. And yeah, what I want to do is at each one of these stages, leave it up to you guys for questions at every stage, because I'm assuming, we talk about deliverability. There's going to be a few questions that you'll have targeting same offers and copy, same. So to touch on deliverability, we're not going to be buying mailboxes, setting up domains on this call. But so I wanted to cover more of the principles of cold email deliverability. Because if we're not able to land within the prospect's main inbox, every other bit of work we do after this point kind of goes to waste. So it is probably, I would say now, the most important thing we need to get right. And it is, fairly hard to get right now. Google, Microsoft, these providers are blocking more emails more than ever. There is now new tools that are coming out which sit on people's inboxes that block emails. So deliverability is definitely a topic for a conversation. What we do for deliverability is fairly simple, and I think most of this stuff you'll find can be boiled down to quite a simple way of doing things, and without complicating it too much. So some of the core concepts on deliverability is, firstly, we want to be sending from a cold email specific sending tool. This is like an instant lead or a smart lead. And the reason we want to send from something like this is because, firstly, it's been built for cold email. Secondly, we can attach as many email accounts and domains as we want to this platform, instead of using something like a HubSpot where we are limited in that fashion. Also, the kind of IPs these tools send from is a little bit different to a tool like HubSpot. So I wouldn't recommend sending cold emails from a tool like HubSpot or your CRM or something else. Most likely they will end up in spam. I also wouldn't send it from like a newsletter platform too. I would stick to the core tools like Instantly, Smartly. There is a few others in the marketplace. They will all brand themselves as cold email sending tools, and I would start there for deliverability. The second thing is, again, yeah, setting up multiple domains and multiple inboxes. So you do not want to send cold emails from the main domain. This will for sure get your main domain going to spam, essentially. It means that when you're sending internal emails, client emails, follow-ups, your reputation will decrease by then, and those emails will probably go to spam. You can only do that in very, very small cases, like Salesforce may be able to do that, but they've had their domain for like 20 years and it's probably one of the most reputable domains in the world. Our domains are not that reputable. So we have to buy domains from different providers. What I would recommend is going to something like Spaceship. I actually haven't linked it here, but I will just put it here. Something like Spaceship, something like Porkbun, pick up some .coms, .cos, or .infos, and you'll be good to go, right? The next step is the actual inboxes themselves. So, there is a lot of inbox providers now in the marketplace, and I'm not sure if you guys are seeing much outbound content on LinkedIn, but it seems like there is a million of these inbox providers. I would really be careful with inbox providers. Again, a lot of the cheaper inbox providers are using something called a shared SMTP, and I wouldn't recommend buying from one of those. I won't dive into it now, but I can record a video for the show notes on how that works and why I wouldn't buy from them. They're providers like MailScale. I can't remember some of the other providers, but you'll know if they're a shared SMTP because they won't brand as a private SMTP. But the main inbox providers you want to go with is Google inbox providers and Microsoft inbox providers. We currently get our Google inboxes from a place called Cheap Inboxes. Really good provider, really good guys, really great support, which are the three things you want in an inbox provider. And we're able to get them for like $3.50, I think they do them for an inbox. So it's a lot cheaper than going to Google directly. And also these guys will obviously handle the DKIM, DKIM, all the boring setup that you need. If you're doing cold email at quite high volumes, like and what we're doing for Helply and some of our other clients. We sometimes like to go with a shared SMTP. This is like a private server for your inboxes and your inboxes only. But these guys start at a 200 mailbox minimum. So I would only get this if you're really pushing that volume up, but it is a little bit cheaper than going for Google. And then Microsoft, I would only really recommend scaled mail here. For Microsoft inboxes, they'll set you up. Great support again, great inboxes. And so these are the three providers we would go with. If you're unsure on which providers to go with, I would just go with a Google provider and a Microsoft provider. And that'll give you basically everything you need. And I wouldn't complicate it too much, go 50-50 Google, Microsoft. One of the other things I would do is, and I will share a spreadsheet in the show notes again, is figure out how much email volume you actually need to send to reach your goal. So let's say it's 10,000 emails a month, and then figure out how many inboxes you're going to need off the back of that. Let's say it's 100 inboxes. Buy 150, buy 200 inboxes. The reason being is you don't know what's going to happen. There's been big Google outages recently, and you can just never predict what's going to happen with email deliverability. So it's better just to stay safe rather than have all your infrastructure go down and then not be able to send any cold emails. So just buy a little bit more than you need, leave those in warm up, don't send from them. And if something does happen, then you'll be able to switch them out like that, and your sending volume will be high at all times, which is what you want. And then the next thing is diving into copy. After you've kind of done that, and if you're following the provider's rules for how much warm-up volume, how much sending volume you need, you should be good to go within your inbox setup, especially if you're using a tool like Instantly or Smartly. The only other thing then to watch out for is the actual copywriting and how the copy impacts deliverability. So it impacts deliverability in two ways. There is like spam words within the copy. This is like guarantee, dollar signs, but there's a ton of them, man. And you're never gonna remember them all. So I just use a spam word checker, put all your copy through a spam word checker. It'll tell you which words you need to switch around, which words you need to change. And then the only other thing is adding spin tags. So what spin tags is essentially a syntax for Instantly. What they take from this is you put in 30 variations of the same words or phrases, and Instantly will spin it. And they will pick one for each email. And what this means is none of your emails are going to be the same. Google, Microsoft again are picking up on mass email senders and email people that are emailing the exact same message over and over again. If you've ever ran an outbound campaign, not used spin tags, and just seen results slowly fall off, it's something called copy fatigue, and it's just Google, Microsoft catching on to you sending the same copy from the same email accounts over and over again. So that's pretty much it for deliverability. I think if you do all those things, you should be good. If your message is good, you're not using spam words, and you set up your infrastructure in the correct way, you shouldn't have too many problems with deliverability. Yeah, we all still do. But if you buy more inboxes, you kind of mitigate that as well, right? So just before I move on here, is there any questions on deliverability?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit confused. So you need to buy inboxes and then set it up in something like Apollo or Instantly, and then use those
Yeah.
inboxes to send the emails as opposed to using your email?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. Yeah. If you want a really simple way to do this, we can, if you have an Instantly account, Instantly can handle all this for you at just a little bit more expensive fee. That's why we go with the direct route. We'll buy the domains, buy the inboxes. But if you just come into Instantly, you get an account. It's fairly simple. You can come here, you can and just buy Google accounts. You type in a domain. What you'd want to do is take your original domain and make lookalikes of this. So it might be try helply.com or something like this. We'd be able to come in here, select the domains that we want to use. Let's just say it's these three. Come to next, and then we'd have our inboxes. They'd set up our inboxes for us, and then we just pay Instantly for this. So we do want to do this if we're sending cold emails. This is probably the simplest way to do it. What I've showed is maybe a little bit more of a complicated way to do it, but we do want to be setting up new domains, new email accounts to send from.
So Apollo doesn't do this, right? It's only instantly.
I don't know if I don't think Apollo have a inbuilt
Okay.
sending or setup feature. So you could go and do it the route that I showed, where you'd go to Spaceship, buy domains, go to cheap inboxes, set up your inboxes, and then upload those to Apollo. But I haven't used Apollo for cold email sending too much. I haven't really heard of much about cold email sending on Apollo. I'm not sure if it's more of a CRM or if it is a sort of cold email sending tool and you can connect multiple domains to it. Usually the tools where you cannot connect multiple accounts to, like unlimited accounts, usually that isn't a tool that should be used for cold email sending. So I'm not sure, does Apollo allow you to connect multiple accounts or how does
I'm
it
not
work?
I'm not 100% sure, but it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Yeah, I just use. Go on.
actually, Apollo has that functionality to connect
Yeah.
multiple email addresses.
Okay.
I've tried that, but I mean, I have not seen great results in deliverability or as well as
Yeah.
the interface is really confusing. So I
Yeah.
think instantly is better, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
just from my experience.
Yeah, I always recommend going with a tool like Instantly or Smartly. These guys have been in the space for the longest. These guys know how to sequence cold emails, manage deliverability, and their support's really good. I haven't used Apollo specifically for sending cold emails. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but you know, if you've got it, you set it up and you get good results, then fair play, right?
Yeah, hello.
Cool. Go on.
Hi, Cameron.
Yep. Yep.
Just a quick one actually. So what's the recommended mail to inbox ratio
Good
when like
question.
when you're buying
Good
mailboxes?
question. Good question. So if I'm buying like cheap inboxes, sort of Google inbox, I'll do three. With scaled mail, I'll do something a little bit different. So just keeping it super simple, what I'd do is I'd set up three of these inboxes per domain. Scaled mail, Microsoft is slightly different. You set up 25. Um, I would just, if you're going to go and buy scaled mail, I'd just follow their instructions on it. But everything else, just buy three mailboxes per domain. That keeps it super simple. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
no worries. Anything else? Or I'll move on to targeting.
Sorry, Cameron, one last question.
Yeah. All good, all good.
What's the
Yeah.
the instantly solution seems like very turnkey and easy. Is there any downside to
Yeah.
doing that versus doing the spaceship cheap domain flow?
Yeah, cost is the only thing. Instantly's
It's just
infrastructure is
cost.
great. Yeah, it's just cost. Yeah. So that's the only
Okay,
thing. It's $5
cool.
per inbox on Instantly, $15 per domain. Whereas cheap inboxes is 350 and you can get a spaceship domain for like $6, right? So it's just cost that scale. Yeah,
Got it. Thanks.
all good. All good, all good. So for the rest of this, that's kind of like the only thing I cannot show live, right, is setting up inboxes. The rest of this, I wanted to walk you through exactly how you go and build a campaign for Instant Docs. There is a little bit of work you'd want to do before this, which I have done, which is kind of just understand who you're selling to and what pains these people have, what they're currently doing to solve the problem, and what benefits they're looking for. But I'm assuming, you know, you guys will be doing that yourselves for your own SaaS product and putting that kind of document together and building those personas out. But I will walk you through how we think of personas. So we think of personas starting at like a vertical level, like an industry. So we'd have like our vertical would be SaaS for Instant Docs, and we'd split our personas based on do they experience the pain point differently? Do they have different benefits? And do they try different solutions to solve the problem? So there's two clear personas that we have for Instant Docs in SaaS, which is CX leaders and then obviously founders and CEOs. In this case, we're just going to dive into one, which would be CX leaders. And I've just prepared a super brief like persona document for CX leaders trying to solve their knowledge-based problems, right? So what I would do is I would actually go and break your TAM up into these different personas and have one of these persona docs for each one of the segments because you're going to just repeat this process that we go through for each segment, each persona within your TAM. Sometimes, you know, you're going to have like 30 of these In some cases, you'll only have one or two, and that'll kind of be for you to define, but also test as well. You can test if you split these personas up, does it improve the results? If we keep them together, does it improve the results, right? So that's just something to kind of do on your own. How I kind of go about building these is just really customer analysis. We'll go through existing sales calls, go through your CRM, understand who these people are, why they bought, what benefits they're getting from your solution. This is all insights that you'll have and you'll be seeing on a daily basis, right? So for Instant Docs, we've got obviously B2B SaaS, we've got that customer success leader ICP. We've got the number one problem, which I think is their help docs are lagging. They keep getting the same tickets. Their CX team is not consistently creating new articles. So this is kind of what they're doing to work around that problem. What they're looking for is polished support documentation, ultimately to reduce the amount of tier 1 tickets, improve their CSAT, all these kind of metrics within the CX team, right? I'm looking at as well other things other than just pain points industry that would allow us to get better targeting, right? So one of them could be the actual tooling stack that this team needs or uses. So for example, a team that doesn't currently have a support solution like Zendesk is probably not going to get much value from Instant Docs in CX. So I'd want to make sure that they're using a tool like Zendesk or Freshdesk or Intercom or something like this before building this campaign out. So from here, what I'd like to do is I would come into Apollo and I'd start building this list. One of the things I might do differently as well is pick a different data source depending on the ICP. And what I've done here is I've given you like a GPT that I use on quite a regular basis, which if you give your ICP to, it will recommend some good data sources to go to. So the core ones are, I think, Crunchbase for SaaS, Store Leads for e-commerce, Apollo for most of everything else, Triggerfy for social signals. You've got Google Maps, which is great as well if you do target local businesses. And also you can use a tool called Appify to scrape things like TripAdvisor. I'm actually going to just walk you through this tool because it's a great tool. I'll put this in the show notes as well. Appify would allow us to scrape things like TripAdvisor, Apollo, all these kind of databases that are online, we'd be able to scrape via Appify. So we can get pretty much everything, Twitter, Instagram, just wherever your ICP live, you'd be able to scrape using a tool like Appify. So, the first part would be around selecting the data source, but for simplicity, we're just going to use Apollo. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how I would build these filters out in Apollo. So to start off, we'd want to build our account list first. So I've already started this here, where I've put in the employee count that we're looking for. I've put in the industry, and I've actually been able to see what technologies these people are using within Apollo, which is a super nice filter to have within Apollo. It didn't used to have this filter, and it's a great one to have. Not always this is going to work for you. Technologies will only work if the company in question, so like if you're using Zendesk, you're going to have something installed on your site. So it's not always going to work. Not all technologies will be on there, but if they are, it's a great kind of signal or way to filter down your list, method, right? So once we got this, we might want to put on our location as well. Make sure we're only getting companies in the United States. And then from here, all we do is we take this Apollo list that we've built and we just click on the people button here. And what this does is it takes our current company filters that we built and finds jobs at these companies. I had some previous job titles in there, so it was finding the wrong ones. So this is going to find everyone that works at that company that's in the Apollo database from our company list. So I obviously want to go down and filter for CX leaders. So how I like to do this is I like to use a management level and then keywords. The reason I like to do that is because job titles are kind of ambiguous. Some people will call themselves head of CX. Some people will call themselves head of support. Some people will call themselves head of customer success, right? So I like management level and then I like keywords as my filter. This allows me to find the most possible roles so I can expand the TAM as large as possible. Feel free to interrupt me at any point and ask questions because I know I'm running through this pretty quickly. CX support. Success. So yeah, so what we do is we'd use these keywords, so job title keywords. So where you'd better find these is obviously again from that previous research part that you've done is analyzing your sales call recordings, analyzing your CRM, understanding who are the key buyers within this, and then you'd be able to get these job titles quite easily. So as you can see here, using a tool like Apollo, it is pretty simple. Obviously now we need to get the data out, and I'm going to push this data into Clear. But it doesn't get any more complicated. We just use a lot of templates that we've previously built, and I'm going to share them with you as well post call. So all I want to do with this list now, I know this list contains the right job titles, the right company size. All these companies are using a tool like Zendesk. So all these are in the ICP of the campaign that I'm actually building. And then I'll be able to export these, push these into Clear, and then write copy within my sending tool. So I might not actually do the export. It might take a little bit of time. I can see if we can get it running. But this is how we would export from something like Apollo. Obviously, we don't want to pay Apollo directly for exports because that would cost way too much. So we use this tool called Apify. I've walked through this a little bit already. And all we have to do here is paste the Apollo link into our Apify scraper. I actually want to create a task first. Just call it CX demo. Paste the Apollo link within Apify. Just name our list. And what this is going to do is this is going to scrape Apollo for us. What this scrapes Apollo at a much cheaper rate than it would cost if you were scraping Apollo directly. This only costs $1.20 per 1,000 leads instead of Apollo. I'm not sure what they would charge for that, but it'd be quite a lot. This is the simplest way to get data, I think, outside of Apollo. And then what we use Clear for is the data enrichment, the email validation, and then pushing it to our sending tool. So I think this may take a little bit of a while to export. So what I might jump towards now is our copywriting section and how to build our offerings. So is there any questions on that list building process before I move on?
Is that Apollo plan just like, are you on some very basic level of Apollo?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
paid
I think
plan,
this
but
is-
it's not, it's like one of the lesser levels.
I think it's the lowest plan I'm on. Manage plan. I believe, yeah, I'm paying $47 a month for Apollo. You can use the free plan too, and it works perfectly fine. I just don't think you get like the technology filter and things like this. But the cheapest version of Apollo would definitely do the job. Yeah.
Hey, Cameron, I'll jump in and
Yeah.
ask some of the questions people are typing in here, unless you guys want to just jump in and ask, but a couple good ones coming in. Howard had said, does cold outbound work if you're in a category that is either not well known or you're trying to build?
Interesting question. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, Howard, if you can jump in, I would love to hear more.
Yeah, sure. So we've tried it. We've tried cold outbound probably about 4 or 5 times now. And
Yeah.
we're an email analytics platform for customer success teams or any customer facing team, really.
Yeah.
But we're not a CRM, we're not a ticketing system. But we kind of sit in between the two. And nobody's searching for email analytics. They know they've got a problem, but they don't know that you could solve it simply by having an email analytics platform. So
yeah,
I mean we've given it a good go 4 times, and I think that's probably the problem. The fact that no one's really aware of the fact that there is a solution, which is an email analytics platform for customer success teams.
Yeah. What's the problem?
Well, the problem is that it's just not performing, to be honest with you.
No, not the outbound. The problem that you guys solve for
Oh,
sales
sorry,
teams.
the problem that we solve. So
yeah.
we provide visibility into how any customer-facing teams performing over email. So it's anything
Okay,
from
so they're
it's
aware of
effectively
that problem.
Texas. They're aware that they'll have a problem, like maybe dissatisfied customers, churning customers, etc.
Yeah, yeah,
But there's a whole bunch of things that could contribute to that, and we're
yeah,
one of them. And we've
yeah,
built our entire business around speed of response over email.
yeah, yeah. So I think if they're aware of the problem, I would focus the outbound on the problem, and then provide, instead of asking. So what I would do here is two things, right? I'll walk through this here. You have different offerings you can use within Outbound. And this is how I think about this. You have your core product offering, which you might be saying might not be working within Outbound right now, because people don't understand the solution. Maybe they understand the problem. So then what I would do is I would move up the funnel a little bit, to maybe an insight-led offer. Do you want to educate the audience on, okay, they understand they've got this problem, but they don't understand what the solutions are. So you can give them insight, you can give them knowledge, in terms of for them to understand, sorry, what the solution would be, which would be your solution. So you tie the problem, which is speed of response and customer satisfaction, to your solution, which is email analytics and understanding how well your CX team is performing via email. And you'd make that the solution to that problem with some knowledge and based assets. So with an outbound, that would look like kind of like a bit more like this outbound. So this is an email we ran for Helply. Obviously, this isn't very problem based. This is more benefit based. But I would just change the first line into a problem line instead of a benefit based line. So it would be like, for example, something around, I can't think on the spot, if I was typing maybe, around CX teams not performing via email or email responses going down and customers becoming more dissatisfied. And then just say, before asking for anything, I wanted to share a framework that helped one of our customers go from a 10% CSAT to a 30% CSAT or something like this. And they're going to bite there because you've tied something that's easy to say yes to the problem they want to solve, which is good CSAT scores. And then you just got to do a little bit more work on the back end when you do offers like this in terms of booking that call, nurturing that lead, because it's not direct response, if that makes sense. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And we've given a version of that a try. But I think we've got a little bit of fatigue at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get back onto it at some point.
Do you have an Instantly account that do you have like an Instantly or a Smart Lead account that we could maybe like dive into right now?
I haven't got the details of it, but yeah,
Okay,
we do.
no worries.
We've used Apollo and Instantly.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is as well, after this call, I'll put a few ideas in the chat. I'll have a think about if you put your domain as well in the chat, I can have a look, have a think.
Yeah, I'll drop it in now.
Cool.
Awesome, thanks. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Another question.
Tom, any more
David
questions? Yeah, go
was,
on.
are you limiting the number of contacts you pull from the same company? Are you emailing them all at the same time?
This is a really good question. This is a hard problem to solve with a database like Apollo. Ideally, you don't want to be hitting more than 3 contacts within the same company, within the same campaign, because, for example, if one contact marks you as spam within a company, in most cases, the other contacts, it'll just go to spam as well. So you don't want to hit too many people. Again, it's super hard to manage this with something like Apollo. I've seen people build custom build tools. We don't currently manage it. You can do it if you pull all your data from Clay. I would say ideally you don't want that. In some cases it doesn't work out that way, and you do get maybe 5 or 6 at the same company, which obviously isn't ideal, but it doesn't matter too much. I don't think it impacts results. That's what I'm kind of saying.
And Sergio asks, what's the expected response rate for outbound emails?
This depends, right? So if you pull a list from something like Triggerfy, which is social intent, meaning that like they've just engaged with a post that's super relevant to your offer, you might see like a 10% reply rate. If you're hitting the TAM, like if we jump into Helply's results, our reply rates are probably not great. Yeah, 0.79. But we're sending at such high volume. I tend not to focus too heavily on the reply rate. I look at the throughput of the funnel, and does this funnel make like mathematical sense to us and to the Helply team in terms of how much they're spending and how much they're getting on the other end of this? If it does, your reply rate is not the metric to be focused on too much. But I would watch out for it, right? If it starts going really low, you probably got deliverability problems. But if it's you know, around 1%, you should be all right. This is at volume though as well. So that matters. You obviously can only get away with a 1% reply rate if you're sending enough emails. If you're not sending, if you're sending 200-300 emails a day, you can't really get away with a 1% reply rate. If you're only sending that much volume, I think you have to incorporate a lot more targeting within the lists, a lot more signal heavy and intent heavy based approach, rather than just a straight TAM approach. If you are going for a TAM approach, you have to send a lot more emails, more than 1,000 a day. Any more, Tom?
If I miss anybody, just jump in, guys. Because I know there's a lot of commentary going back and forth here and a lot of good stuff. But I think that's it for now, Cameron. So you can keep rolling.
Can I
Cool.
ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cameron, I didn't understand what you just said. Why would you need a higher reply rate if you're sending fewer?
Yeah, because you just don't have the volume, right, for it to make sense. So if you're only getting a 1%, we just opened a sheet right now. I just did the maths quickly. If you're only maybe not. If you're only sending 300 emails a day and you're only getting a 1% reply rate, and on average you're going to get a 25% interested rate, you're going to get such little responses, not even a lead per day, which I don't think would be worth it, right? You'd want to get more than a lead per day as the throughput. So if you're only sending low volumes, you have to go like all in with low volume and make sure your campaigns are much more relevant, much more personalized, so you can increase your reply rate from a 1 to a 5%, and then you're getting a couple leads a day, and it starts to make sense with Outbound, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, thank you. I just didn't understand that. That's very helpful.
All
Thank
good.
you.
All good, all good.
Cameron, so I've got a follow-up question to that actually. So like my entire TAM list is basically 4,000 firms within the audit space. So it's actually
Yeah.
quite small.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like what's the best approach, I guess, if like I do want to increase my intent and my signaling for like cold outbound?
Yeah, 4,000 per, that's tough.
Yeah.
What space? What space? The auditing
So
space.
yeah, basically it's in the UK audit market. So there's 4,000 firms, but like each like firm could like be valued at multiple thousands basically in terms of the contract. Yeah.
Don't use cold email solely. Do LinkedIn,
Okay.
or use either Here Each for LinkedIn and just do it on LinkedIn. Your response rates are going to be so much better on LinkedIn than they are on email, and you're going to be able to utilize that smaller market. Or do like a multi-channel with like Lemlist, where you can like sequence in like, for example, we're going to send a LinkedIn connection request, then we're going to send an email, then we're going to send them a guide on LinkedIn. Make it so you kind of nurture this TAM. Also, with a small TAM like that, you don't want to send. I would be careful of just sending direct offers because it's so small. You don't want to burn it almost.
Like burn the list. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
You want to kind of be nice to those leads and send them some really valuable stuff. Educate them first, man. Educate them and then follow up with them a bit later, and then ask for the meeting or something like this after you've given them enough value. I like that approach for smaller TAMs. I think it's more of like a account-based marketing approach, right? There is some stuff you can do though. You could upload that list to Clay as well. You could monitor Clay as well for people that have recently been hired within the target role that you target, right? You could do if they've just moved technology. You could do if they've engaged with a certain post on LinkedIn. Some of those signals, and then I'd feed that directly into LinkedIn, where you've obviously got lower volume anyway. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll send over some videos on how to do that stuff as well with Claire after this as well.
Cameron, one more
Cool.
question.
Yeah.
One question on the email that you showed prior on the community outreach for Helply. This is of
Yeah.
course very sort of like a soft approach, right? It's not the product problem, it's not a product value, it's actually the community that was being pitched. What's your experience on that large TAM with sort of like real problem-based pitching, product-based pitching in the emails, or do you tend to do more sort of like a softer lead in and then, I don't know, maybe after a community later talk about the actual
Yeah, I'm going to find an example. Did I put one here? Yeah, here. So here's a product-based one for a different client. So we've positioned, like if we look at this, we have our core product, and then we're moving up the funnel slightly to more higher up the funnel, but we're going to get more interest. So we've moved a little bit up the funnel with this. Obviously, we're not just pitching them a sign-up link or a demo link within the email. Instead, we've positioned a case study that they had into a framework, right? A framework to achieve a certain result. So this doesn't change anything on the back end, which is really nice. All it does is change the perception of the email. So this is, again, pretty soft, but this books meetings right off the back of it, because to get the framework, the lead has to jump on a call with the client, and then they get the framework, they get walked through how that framework works and how that could apply to them. So this is more of a product example, and this is kind of how we would position it. Sometimes the offer is just nuts, and we can literally just say, hey, would you like to do this? This is what our tool does. You can sign up here, or you can get more information here, and it works. In some cases, we have to position it slightly differently, like this, with turning a case study into a framework. And then you can get even more creative with it. You can start building custom lead magnets, which might be this framework in a nice document, which is like, video and all that kind of good stuff as well. But I would always send the calendar link alongside something like that if you've got them. If they've responded, try and book them into a meeting. But yeah, I hope that email kind of shows how we would position a product, right?
Thank you for that. Maybe one quick follow-up. Do you have sort of
Yeah.
like a framework, how you think about it when you go for more like a soft approach versus how you go like steps closer to the actual offer? Is there like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think a little bit of intuition. Like, do I think this product, if I just say what this product does, do I think it's going to work right off the bat? If it does, I'll just put what the product does in the most clear language possible, and then put a call to action. There's always a soft call to action. I'm never going to say, hey, do you want to book a demo? It's always going to be something soft like, hey, here's a link to sign up. Because what we want to make sure is that our emails have really low time to value, which means if they respond to the email, they know they're going to get value pretty quickly. So that works here because they know if they respond to the email, they're going to get some knowledge about how we achieved or how they achieved this result. Maybe they can apply that knowledge themselves. If it's a sign up, they're going to get access to that product immediately. So you don't want to ask for the demo because there's no value in the demo. So you just have to think about positioning the demo in a different manner. Like this, I say. I mean, we rinse this framework offer. So I would just copy this. I've actually got a template, this template that we use quite often that you can just use as well. I'll show you it here, actually. Yeah, so if you had specific benefit, how would you spend that benefit? My team and I built product. It does this thing, and it's really easy to use. So you'd fill this in. Mind if I share the framework our clients use to see benefit, enabling them to do good thing? And then there's just a bit of fill in here. Then just reply yes to see more info. So we use this template a lot, I'm not gonna lie. And it works quite well. So this is kind of how we think about it. We keep it pretty simple. Does that kind of answer your question?
Definitely. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all this stuff I'll send across after this call as well. So you can have this template. You can have the Clay table that I'll walk through in a little bit as well. And all this good stuff. Cool. Any more? What's the rule of
Cameron,
thumb? Yeah, go on.
yeah, just one question. Like in terms of the template, would you would you sort of adjust it for the UK market, or like or would the US and UK market also, be sort of applicable, I guess, that like we could use that like same template?
Yeah, for sure. You could use the template. I don't think the template isn't like the main thing here.
Okay.
It's the things we put into the template that are gonna make the template work or not. And that's what you're gonna experiment with, right? You're gonna experiment with, like, for example, I wrote a few for instant docs here, and they're just different. If your knowledge base wrote itself, could your CX team get this benefit? And this email has a different one, right? How many tier 1 tickets could you deflect if your knowledge base wrote itself? Or this one is, if you had a dedicated team to create and support documentation, how fast could your customers resolve their tickets? So we just different positioning, different angles, and that's what we're testing, because this is our value proposition. It's our like what we offer and the benefit of what we offer, or the problem that it solves. And then that's the thing we're going to change in each variation. And that's the thing you want to test. And what you'll find is if you launch a campaign and you make sure you send 500 emails per variation is a good rule of thumb. You'll find ones that perform a lot better than the other, and then you just come into instantly, turn off the rubbish ones, and then leave the good ones on, and then your outbound will be working quite nicely.
Got you. Thank you.
All good. There's a rule of thumb here. In a sequence, third contain links. Yeah, I don't like doing links in any of them. I as well don't like long sequences. So, for Helply, we've done one email. So the sequence is one, right? The reason we're doing that is because the approach that we're taking with these guys is we're taking their market, we're segmenting the market, and then we're running through the market every 2 months. So we're making sure we send one email to every single person in our TAM every 2 months. So that's the approach we're going with there. So we're not doing long sequences. And then every 2 months, what we're aiming to do is obviously change up the email copy, change up the offering. And that works really well. So you might think that over time the results will diminish. If you are changing up the copy, if you are spin taxing correctly, that will get good results, and it'll continue to produce good results once you've found offers and value propositions that resonate. The reason being is that people miss emails. It might not be the right time for that business. So that's how that approach works. The max sequences that I would use is 2, if I am going to do them, and I wouldn't include links in any of them. The only time I would include a link is after the prospect has replied, and I've responded back with a meeting link, right? That's when we send the meeting link on the response. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. It's a good idea to share a demo video in the link in the email. Can be. I'd test it and look at your booking percentage, because you have like different parts of the funnel. You have your like reply rate, which is part 1, your interested reply rate, which is part 2, and then interested reply to bookings, which is part 3. See, I would have a look, test it. So in some of your responses, just send the Calendly or the booking link. In some of them, send the video alongside the booking link, and whichever's performed the best, then go with that one. The actual as well, when you think about how people respond to the email as well, I think most people, what they will do is they will see the email, they'll probably search the domain, they'll go to your website, they'll land on your site, they'll probably run through that and then respond. So we just send the Calendly. We don't actually send too many demo videos across unless a prospect asks for a demo video alongside a Calendly link. Why should I not be asking for a demo or a sign up? So I'll ask for a sign up. The reason I'll ask for a sign up is that we've positioned the email with a clear value proposition to the sign up, right? It's like, if you sign up for tool, this is the good things that are going to happen when you sign up for the tool, or this is the problem you're going to be able to solve when you sign up for the tool. But I'm only doing that when the offer is really compelling, like a community offer, right? It's like, do you want to join the community? Here's the link. It's very compelling. Or like, if you know our B2B, it's super compelling offer. It's see who's visiting your website, which you never were able to do before, and get their profiles right into your Slack at no cost. Do you want the link to sign up? Super compelling. But there's actually very little demo value in a demo, because they know as soon as they take a demo, they're just jumping into your sales process. And so we never like to ask for a meeting or ask for a demo and within the cold email itself. And we like to position that in a way that they're going to at least receive value. So that could be like, do you want us to walk you through the framework that we've used to help client go from the situation you're in to the situation you want to be in? That's how we would position a demo. So we wouldn't just ask for the demo. It tends not to work. I think you'll actually be able to book more demos if you say no need to call. Just here, would you like more information? And you'll actually have more people sending you their Calendly links to book in a demo than if you just ask for it in the email itself. I'm running through these. So did that answer your question on demo, signups, CTAs?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Spintax. Yes, I'll walk you through Spintax now, actually, inside instantly. We'll pick this campaign. We sent a lot of emails here. So how Spintax works is you'll be able to see here, we've got like, would love your feedback. And we've got like a little dash, curious to get your thoughts, a little dash, wanted to get your take. And then what instantly we'll do is if we click the preview here, it'll just choose one of them. What this does is it means every single one of your emails that goes out is going to be different to the last email. The reason we want that to occur is because Google are monitoring like mass email senders. And what a mass email sender does is a mass email sender will just send blasts of the exact same copy over and over and over again. So if you do that, you will notice your reply rates will just eventually fall off. And it's because Google are just flagging your inboxes and labeling them as mass senders. A good like rule of thumb with like deliverability stuff is think of like what a phisher does, like someone that's trying to like scam you with phishing links, and just do the exact opposite to them. So they're sending from a single domain, they're sending the same copy, they're sending links in the email, they're providing no clear value within their email. Just do the opposite to that, and your deliverability will be good. So Spintax is a way to do that, multi-domain setup, having good value propositions, having low friction call to actions, is all good for email deliverability. So I can answer your Spintax question.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, it's tough to come up with good Spintax as well, because you do have to balance like how much do I want to Spintax this email? And do I have to also make sure it makes grammatical sense? There's not a million variations to every word or phrase. So, going back and forth with ChatGPT is how we do that. It just takes a while, right? Another way you can do that is like, you've seen people do like AI lines within Clear. This achieves the same result, right? Because every email is different. Cool. I think that's everything. Is that everything, Tom?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. I'll move on. So I guess we've kind of touched on quite a lot here. I'll touch on a bit more towards the offers and the copy, because I think this is pretty important. So we touched on a little bit of this, but I want to show you some like direct breakdowns of how we think about offerings and copy. It's kind of the same thing. Have I dropped out? Good?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Cool. So we want our cold email offerings to have like little time to value, which means if the prospect responds to the email, they're going to get value really quickly. We obviously want it to be relevant to the prospect themselves, and we want the email to be valuable and have good upside with really low risk. All these things need to be like exacerbated or made much better, depending on what kind of market you're in. So when you've got like a brand new market, you can make kind of any claim you want. You can kind of just, like I've talked about there, talk about what the product does, and you're going to get really good responses. But if you're in a really, really saturated market, like cold email, like our services, you have to create new or different differentiators, which might be, for example, a regular cold email lead generation offer might be, we'll get you 10 leads. Obviously, you can't send emails saying that, it's not going to work. So you're going to have to add something new into the email. Like we use Clay to get you 10 leads, or we use Clay and Triggerfy to get you 10 leads, or even higher than that is, would you like the framework we used on how we use Clay to help Lee get 10 leads, right? And so you have to make these things better when your market is more sophisticated because there's just more skepticism. You'll know this quite often. You'll be able to know if you're in one of these marketplaces because a lot of people will be able to make the same claims as you. In SaaS, I think it's a lot better than it is in services because inherently to build a SaaS, you need a unique product and a unique angle. That's why we like working with SaaS companies. So if we jump through a few of these emails, we can see here in the first line, we're making it relevant to the prospect immediately. And we're talking about what we're building, a SaaS founder community. If we send this to an agency owner, it's just not going to be relevant to them. They're probably not going to respond. But because we're calling out the actual persona, it is relevant to them. And then the second line, there is value with a little upside. So the value is, we got grew to 5 mil with a team of 5, which is valuable in a few ways. It's valuable and relevant because this is a topic on LinkedIn now of growing, a SaaS company with a lean team, which is cool. And it's also like we're sharing the playbooks, the systems that helped us do this. So this is quite a good value proposition. And then again, we come at it with another value prop with little risk. Before asking for anything, I wanted to share one of our cold email playbooks on how we're doing this thing. And then little time to value, want me to send it across, right? So it's a super low friction email with a lot of value, and there's essentially no risk to someone responding to this email and getting value from it. They know they're going to get value from it. And I'll walk you through the product example as well, because I think that's maybe more relevant. I prefer emails like this as well. So you can always lead an email with like a pain or a benefit. We've been doing a lot on the benefit side. I think it's a nice, it's just that I think it's a bit nicer to see, especially within the preview. And also I think it's easier to get right. Because pain is like really specific. If you get your pain point wrong within the first line, you almost have definitely lost that prospect. So pain is definitely trickier to get right within the first line. So we like to come at it with benefits because having an idea about what benefit this prospect wants is fairly simple. Really understanding how they experience the pain is also almost somewhat challenging because it depends on tooling and team size and all these different things, right? So we like to lead with benefit, but in some cases we'll lead with pain. It just depends. And then again, we're making it relevant to the prospect here. And we're sending this to recruiters. So they're doing pre-screening tests. Their current pre-screening tests are not role specific. They're like multiple choice. And the benefit is converting higher quality candidates, which is something they want to do. And then we built a tool to replace the bad thing that they're currently using, which you get this from understanding like the status quo. So what are they currently doing to solve this problem? In this case, this company or recruiters or RPOs were using generic pre-screening tests like Test Griller and things like this. It was resulting in low quality candidates, right? And then the value with little upside. Mind if I show you an example of the simulations that Bloomberg, EY, and Athena used to halve their pre-screening load, saving this many recruiter days or time per 1,000 applicants screened. So again, very clear on the benefit they're going to receive after responding to this email. And also, these are quite good logos and names to put in the email, which definitely does help. But with logos and names, relevance is always better than like size of logo, I think, as well. So in this case, we're targeting like lookalike companies to Athena. So having Athena in there means that they know this brand, they know this company has worked with this brand. And so there is that like built-in trust, right? Because they've helped this company get this result. And then PS sections are actually really interesting. So we added this PS section and we add PS sections later on within campaigns based on like common objections we get. So for example, you're going to have like an inbox full of replies. It's going to be people asking a lot of questions. And we just like to turn those into PS sections. You can also build PS sections off sales call transcripts. So if you're on a sales call, and you hear this objection over and over again, it's just one of them things that like maybe someone doesn't quite understand and they have this question. It's always really useful to handle that within a PS section. And then we just test out different PS sections and see which one is the highest performer. But PS sections added quite a large uplift to this campaign when we did it, for sure. So PS sections are pretty useful for that. So any questions on like copy, writing copy, coming up with offers and angles and things like this?
We are coming up to the top of the hour, Cameron. How much more time do you have if we want to go over a little bit?
Yeah, we've got time to go over a little bit, I think.
Let's say maybe 10 extra minutes. I know some people have to hop off here top of the hour. Before you do, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us here today live. I'm going to continue this conversation in the Slack thread in the growth sessions area. Obviously, you guys can post anywhere you want, but we'll start it there, try to consolidate additional questions. So if you guys want to go specifically or have like Cameron take a look at what you're doing, I would encourage to do it in that. The other thing I want to say administratively is we're gonna actually unpack this and have like a detailed step-by-step guide that we're gonna walk you through on our cold outbound. It's gonna be probably about lesson 3. So we're probably about 3 weeks out because next week is gonna kick off our first lesson of where we're kind of getting more granular with each of these pieces.
Yeah.
So think about this as just a good overview. And then we'll have a lot more resources for you guys to actually implement. So that's all I want to say here. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. Cameron, I think we'll do maybe another 10 minutes and just wrap up at the end of that.
Cool. So I see one here on email length. I think Joe might have answered that, but email length, 75 words, super short. We like in terms of email length. The main purpose of copy is to be clear. If you send the copy to yourself and it takes you more than like a millisecond to understand what this email is about, what the product does and the benefit, you need to rewrite your copy. It also needs to be super short. So you just need to get that into the shortest amount of words possible, which means removing all jargon and keeping it super simple in like fifth grade reading level language kind of thing. In terms of the framework offer, so the framework offer is a really good offer because you can just say, would you like us to walk you through this framework or share this framework? And then what you'll say in the reply is something like, love to share the framework offer, or love to share this framework with you, or how this would apply to your business, and send in the Calendly link, and they'll usually book. And that currently books at around like 22% with no additional follow-up, which is not too bad off the bat in terms of a booking percentage.
So you're not sending just a link to any framework, you're kind of framing it back into the call.
Yeah, we've tested it, and it depends how much like not infrastructure in terms of cold email infrastructure, but back-end infrastructure you have. If you have a systems people like SDRs to be following into a call, which is like a salesperson's job, right? Super difficult to do it with a small team. So we just like, as soon as we've got them to respond, we like to send that Calendly link immediately. And then the people that will book. And then we take the rest of them and we just put them into like a long 6 to 10 step follow-up sequence. And obviously they're going to get hit again in 2 months anyway. So with a different offer, and they might book them.
Okay, thank you.
All good. Any more questions? We probably got like 10 minutes to jump into an instantly. If you want to jump into someone's instantly, someone's share screen, and we can go through deliverability, offer, data, and what's the other one? The other one. If you'd like to do that, if someone wants to share.
There was one question here about email length. I don't know if maybe you addressed this already. How many paragraph sentences are okay?
Yeah, 75 words we like. Don't go over 100 words. The only time I'm going to go over like 75 words if I'm adding a PS section. Bounce rates. Yeah, so every one of our emails, I didn't get to walk you through our Clay table, but our emails are validated a few times. We'll use a few different providers. What you want to do is just use one. I would recommend Lead Magic to validate every single email that's going in. This means that your list will be 100% clean before sending to them again. And this is real-time validation. So we'll validate every email before we send it into a campaign every time. So yeah, we just validate a lot of emails. Lead Magic, yeah.
Then I know somebody had asked how we kind of put together our TAM, and I know the way we did it was we were kind of looking at all these tools. Like we had the TAM, right? So we wrote it down. We had like, you know, a few pages of like who's the TAM, and then drilling down like into our ICP, right? But high level TAM, we knew like we were kind of doing something a little meta here with 0 to 10, where it's like we know any founder, especially in the SaaS space, would be a good fit for this. We believe our hypothesis is that a certain percentage of founders who come in here who are SaaS will also be interested in our other tools like Helply and Instant Docs and so on and so forth. So we started with the broadest TAM possible, the biggest, and we built it through a number of different sources. And then I also went to another thing that we did was I went to Fiverr, and we were able to get lists out of that too. So like you kind of just cast the net as wide as possible. Like the bigger, the better, because you can always enrich this stuff and whittle it down. So that would just be my only point there. And the other thing is we're running like 500 domains or something like that right now, and we're about to double it. So and sending about 10 to 15 a day per domain. So you could see you can send like hundreds of thousands of emails a month, because we're just ramping up to that because we've had good success with it here. So now we just want to get to the point where we have 1,000 inboxes. We can do multiple campaigns. We'll be running for each of our companies. 0 to 10 we'll be running. We'll have something for Helply. We'll have something for Instant Docs. That's kind of our play. And so we're kind of reusing that same TAM list once we've enriched it, and we're just refiltering it and recycling it every couple months. So just to give you guys a framework here of how that can be possible. Some people might think, well, if you got one email from somebody and you ignored it, it's like, are you going to remember that you ignored that person's email a month or two ago? I know I'm not, you know? So it's like, you got to think about that. Like, I'm not saying be spammy, but like, I'm not too worried of that. If something doesn't hit or we don't get a response on the first go round, once we recycle it and test out some new copy and some new offers, I expect that next time will be even better. So just to give some people some framework of how we think about this strategically.
Yeah, 100%. We like to view Outbound when we're doing like full-time approach, like we're doing with Helply, as it's advertising, right? It's like we're just sending ads, right? These are plain text ads that go into the email inbox, and that's kind of how we view it, right? And so we're testing our value propositions within our ads. Obviously, we don't get to have graphics, so we have to make it as good as possible, as concise as possible. And then, yeah, you can reuse your TAM every 2 months, forever, right? And that will keep producing for you as long as you stay on top of it. And in some cases, your TAM will be one persona, but in a lot of cases, it will be multiple personas. So you'll have your TAM in different lists. You'll have persona A, persona B, persona C, so on and so forth. You'll obviously send different messages to each of those personas, which is important to do. And don't just take your time and spray and pray. Be a bit more systematic about it. Build a more specific list, but make sure that all of those lists combined is every single person that could ever buy your product. And that's your TAM. Yeah. For LinkedIn outreach, how do you see sending limitations? Yeah, I don't really. You can buy different accounts. I don't know if you guys have seen that, where you get like a connection request for like from some AI profile photo. These are like fake LinkedIn accounts. You can use these. We haven't used them. Not sure how they perform. But if you want to ramp LinkedIn outbound, that's the way to do it. It is possible. I know the guys at Prosp have a good system for that. Maybe the guys at HeyReach do, not sure. But if you combine Triggerify, so social signals, with your LinkedIn outbound, you'll get good results with that. You'll get a really high connection rate because let's say they've engaged with a post that's super relevant to your offer, and you just connect with them with no message. Do not send connection request messages. Just do it blank, and then a really nice two-step kind of thing. I think the way we used to do LinkedIn outbound was just like a curious question, see if we could start the conversation. If no response, like a lead magnet offer. So like something nice they can just get. And that performed really well and booked a lot of calls, even with just 1 or 2 accounts, with Triggerify data, that is. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're at the extended time. So Cameron, where can obviously people can find you in the Slack, but why don't we wrap it up here? Let people know where they can find you and how they can work with you as well.
Yeah. So you can find us at what I might just do is put my Calendly in Slack. You can find us at tryrepify.ai. It's here in the channel. And there's a calendar booking form on there. I believe it still works. We don't use our site too much, but if not, just contact me in Slack. We can chat about Outbound. We can have a look at your stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank
Cool.
you, Cameron. And like I
Awesome.
said, Cameron's gonna be he's in Slack with us.
Yeah.
He's gonna be super responsive and answer questions. Joel also is part of his team. He's been answering some of
Yeah.
the questions in here too. Super helpful. So really, any questions go. Let's continue the conversation over in Slack. And thank you
Yeah.
all again for being here. And I'm excited to kick off the actual lesson 1, so to speak, of 0 to 10 and everything we
Yeah.
built next week. So we're gonna have a bunch more calls starting pretty soon. Each week we'll have these growth sessions. But we're really kind of just building this all for you. So any feedback, send my way. We'll continue to improve and go from there. And that's it for today. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome, guys. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.